be good if I added us on the screen before the video ended. Hi, everybody. Metso
Hey.
here. Captain Lady Moon is beside me. She's kind of doing like my bit of being able to chat with me, giving someone to talk to. I'm very grateful and thankful that she's here tonight. It's also
Yeah.
us to hang out.
It is. It's us time to hang out.
Yes,
I am a
it
little
is.
under the weather, but
Yes,
I'm happy to
Miss
be here.
Captain Lady Moon is not feeling great, and we send you all the healing vibes that we
Oh,
can.
that's totally fine. I mean, I'm better than I was, or else I wouldn't be
Well,
here.
that's
But
good. I want to say hi to Night Vision, Jonathan Knock, Raph, and Duran. Thank you for coming in
hi,
already,
everyone.
ready to go. We were on time. It's because Van is not here.
Yeah.
This is
Where's Se Wong? Where's Se Wong to be like, oh
there
my
he is.
gosh, you
Hello,
guys are
all.
here?
Yes,
Oh, there you
Mabel is
go.
Se Wong. So there he is. He is here. He
Hey,
was
Se
like,
Wong.
oh, I thought I was early. He thought. um, Van is away at a convention today, and he's on his way home. So Captain Lady Moon is here to hang out with me tonight. So we want to make sure that we tell you guys that about our Saber giveaways that happen every 100 subs. We were actually, last I checked, only like 46 away from the Neo Pixel one. That's at 2,500 subscribers. We're getting close to 2,500, which is pretty cool. So thank you very much. If you want to help support us on the channel, you can actually go to kcpmerch.com, or you can go to patreon.com/KyberK Productions, and you can support us for as little as $1 a month. Doing the top two tiers, you actually get opportunity to be in a drawing in the May 4th for like special sabers and such. So that could be really exciting if you ended up doing that. Anyway, so thank you for being here tonight. As we always know, we have a first segment. Do you remember what our first segment is, Aubrey?
No, it's been such a long time.
It's been such a long time. It is the nerdy news.
Oh, nerdy news. That's right.
First on their nerdy news, first Star Wars Celebration Japan 2025 merchandise is revealed. Oh no, I left it on loop.
I know.
Okay, it's off. Star Wars Celebration Japan is coming up quicker than you'd expect, and now some of their official merch has been revealed. Beautifully done pin trading sets will be available with a variety of characters, including Ahsoka, Luke, and Din Djarin with Grogu. Credit to Takumi for these beautiful pieces that you'll be seeing. Those are the ones in the center that you can see. If you'd like to check out the merch and more, please visit the article written by the StarWarsTeam.com. I will post the article in the chat, but if you're watching the upload, it is in the description below. That is your first story of the nerdy news. Now, the second one is a little bit different. There's no article to go with it. It's my own little review, and I spelled it wrong. It's just Brave New World. I realized that right before the show, and I said, crud. So I went and saw Captain America Brave New World last night with Anthony Mackie, and you had Danny Ramirez, Harrison Ford, you had Giancarlo Esposito. So many good actors and really good actors. So my review is as follows. Captain America Brave New World is filled with action, a good message, and some fun moments. Anthony Mackie takes the torch as a new Captain America officially with his first lead in the film for it. It's great to see him in the leading role. And it's about time. His character, Sam, is good at talking to people, like, I want to say talking to people, but speaking with people and reaching them on a level because his character was a veterans counselor before. Mm-hmm. And Harrison Ford, playing Thaddeus Ross, did a really good job playing the character. I don't want to give too much about how he played the character because there's a lot of things that people don't know happened in the movie. But as we all know, Harrison Ford plays a pretty good grump, so I liked that part.
I mean, that is part of his character, right?
Yeah,
that's like part of that typecasting for him. I mean,
yes, Danny Ramirez, who plays Joaquin, who is now like Sam's partner, who plays the Falcon. Not Sam playing the Falcon, but Danny Ramirez plays the Falcon. Was charming, funny, and his character is full of fun and vigor and like youth. He's his first time being like this superhero kind of person. He's like really excited to get into it. And his chemistry and scenes with Mackie were ones that I actually found myself desiring more. They gave the funniest moments. Giancarlo Esposito made an appearance, and I tell you, this actor never disappoints. You guys know he's Moff Gideon. So he is such a presence that feels so unmatched on screen. It's pretty outstanding. He's so great. Tim Nelson returns after being out of the MCU itself for about 16 years, and it was great to see him return. He did a very good job. Overall, the film, while a bit predictable because it's a superhero movie, was fun and action-filled and had a great message behind it. Hello, C. Carter. Hello, Eric Smith. Carter. Good to see you. Hello, Metso and Captain. I'm currently in Auburn, California. Yep. We knew you guys were at a convention, which is all good. That's just how it be. So that is the end of the nerdy news.
Awesome. Yeah. So did
lovely.
you enjoyed it though?
We did
More than
enjoy
just
it. My
the-
husband
okay.
and I left very pleased and happy with it. You know, there's sometimes when you get to a storyline that you're not sure how much you'll enjoy it, or if like you hear
Mhm.
there were bad reviews about it or whatever. But we actually think any bad reviews that we had read weren't really warranted. I really enjoyed it still.
Mhm.
So and I love seeing Anthony Mackie and leading in something, because I was like watching it and I'm like, I had my note. I actually took a notebook with me to write notes.
That's
And I wrote,
awesome.
my first words were about time. For
By the
Anthony
way,
Mackie.
if I mute every once in a while, it's just because I'm coughing and
Well,
like so I'm trying to be polite to
if I
all you
saw you
viewers.
coughing without sound and you didn't mute, then I'd be worried.
Yes. So I'm just being polite to everybody.
Yes,
So
we
you know, if I
appreciate.
suddenly mute it and I look like I'm coughing, it's because I am. Because as I said, I am
There you go.
sick.
Yeah.
So
So next we have James Kaiser, our producer for Flow, the show that brings us a Flow
woo.
every week. And this week he brought Ben Acosta, who had some really good, some really good, I think it's Fire again too, which is funny because it's like the third one in a week, I think, but I don't think he has long hair. Sorry, Van, to disappoint you. So please enjoy our Flow of the show this week, Ben Acosta. All right. Thank you so much, James Kaiser, for bringing that flow. Ben Acosta, I had the third of the upper third with his name incorrect. So
That
I
was
apologize for that.
awesome.
But yeah, it was. If you'd like to check out Ben Acosta, aka Bushido Heat, his link is in the description, but I also posted it into the chat for his Instagram, which is where we got the video from, where he sent us from it. So thank you so
Nice.
much, James Kaiser, for bringing that to us. Hello, Cam. Hello, hello. How
Hey,
are you?
Cam.
And hi, Kevin. I saw
Hey,
your little
Kevin.
comment about the Red Hulk. Well, the Red Hulk sequence was pretty cool too. I really did enjoy that. It's very sad for some trees that suffered from it, but
Oh no, trees were
yeah,
harmed in the making of it. Oh
trees
no.
were VFX trees were harmed in the making.
Hold on a
But
second.
it was a great sequence overall, and a couple of people who someone who appeared in the movie too. I won't reveal anything. I was actually kind of excited about as well.
Ooh.
All right, guys. Next, it's time for our guest, and I'm very excited to bring him on. Joe Corroney here has been illustrating for Star Wars. He's done Star Wars artwork and for Disney and Lucasfilm, and Star Trek artwork for CBS Studios, and he's been working with CBS since 1997. So I'm very excited.
Amazing.
Please welcome Joe Corroney. All right, Joe, how are you this evening?
Hey, I'm good. Thank you.
Good, awesome. We have questions that people can come in through the chat if they'd like, and if they do, we'll bring them up every now and then. But I do have some pre-written questions that I have ready for you.
Sure.
So,
Yeah.
can you tell me how to describe your illustration style and how it developed over time?
Wow, that's a good question, and I'll try to give you the short answer. Um, eh, Currently, I would say my illustration style now is I work fully digitally,
Mm-hmm.
and I work in a realism style. I go for as cinematic as possible with my work. I try to get that the feel of cinema and live action, mostly because when I think of Star Wars, this is going back even early in my career, when I was pushing for realism, even with my comic book style, and I was trying to do a cinematic style with my comic book art, my sequential storytelling. Star Wars to me really starts with the films first and foremost, because that's how we were introduced to it in the first place, or at least I was way back when in 1977, when I was just 4 years old when the first movie came out. Um, so I've always, with my art, as I matured and my sensibilities matured as an artist as I got older, and I kind of went. I started out with cartooning, and like most people, most artists will, especially kids, will draw cartoony, and then as I got older, I got into comic book art, and I was drawing more in a comic book style. But then I kept pushing for realism also, because my influences come from other places outside of comic book art. That's where it started first and foremost. But I looked up to illustrators like Drew Struzan, who did the movie posters, and artists like Ralph McQuarrie, who did the concept art for the Star Wars films. So even as a kid, I was fascinated with his artwork. So as I got older, my sensibilities matured to a degree where I wanted to do more realism with my art, and a lot of the major studios I work for, they prefer the realism over the cartoony stuff that which or the comic book style, which I can do also. Um, so yeah, I tend to lean that way, whether it's comic book art or whether it's my fully painted digital art, because it's kind of what the studios want to, in terms of like when I do posters and other illustrations. But Star Wars is the most cinematic thing to ever exist in my mind. So I was always kind of leaning that way for a cinematic style. So when I did my art, when I did my Star Wars art, I wanted it to feel like when you look at it, it reminds you of the films. It
Hmm.
makes you think of the characters. When you see Anakin Skywalker, Obi-Wan Kenobi in my art, you're like, oh, that's
Yeah,
definitely
I mean,
Anakin, you
I
know?
felt the same Bo-Katan here, like in the armor.
Yeah.
Like first thing I think is think of them, and realism is a very like it's perfect way to describe what you do because it
Mhm.
looks real.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I use a lot of photo reference as a guide. So,
Hmm.
but I also can draw from my imagination as well because I'm trained that way as a
Hmm.
comic book artist from a very early age. So, um, I'm trained traditionally, even though I work digitally, but I have a lot of traditional foundation of life drawing, figure drawing, still life painting. So I translate all those techniques and that mindset to my digital style. So
Yeah, yeah. Actually, this is totally like technicality question. Do you draw these images separately and then composite, or do you draw them all in the same image together?
it's more of a composite. I use lots of layers. So I'm drawing and painting
Yeah,
on.
layers are your
Yeah.
friend.
Yeah. So it's easier in a lot of ways because I can separate and I can focus on one aspect of the illustration, but it also
Mhm.
gives me like freedom and leeway to play with the composition as I'm illustrating, right? So like I might scale down a portrait, or I might scale something up, or I might shift a spaceship over. I might,
Mhm.
as I'm going, I'm tweaking the composition as I'm painting, and
Yeah, that makes
way,
sense.
yeah, it's way easier to do
Because
digitally
if
than.
you like try to draw it in one, and then you're like, oh no, I think that looks better over here. Now I have all these,
Mhm.
everything's all together and everything, so it's a little bit harder to kind of like move it over. It's much simpler to do it as you describe as separate images
Yeah.
into
It's I
composite. For go ahead.
Well, I was just gonna say with digital, it's just there's so much leeway, and it's for me, it's exciting because even though I've been working digitally for like 20 some years now, I'm still learning new things all the time, and it's exciting because I can try different combinations of things, and there's
Hmm.
no one way to do something in Photoshop. There you could do it three or four or five different ways and try different combinations of things and get maybe introduce yourself to like new ideas or new looks or textures, and so
That's
yeah,
even like
it's
I
fun.
just learned from playing with it, and so like I may do one thing one way while someone does the same thing a different way. And
Right.
you learn different then might but if you learn the other way, you might learn something how to do something else, and it's, like, really interesting how you do that. And for those who don't know what a composite is, it's like when you take multiple images and you drop them together in one in video, like movies, it's like when you have someone who's in front of a green screen and you place them into a different image, you're compositing them into the image.
The way I describe what I
Yeah.
do from a simplistic kind of way is, remember in grade school, like in kindergarten or first grade, and your teacher would have you do a cut paper collage with scissors and
Yes.
take like photos out of magazines and cut them out and then
It's a
kind of glue them
perfect way
all
to put it.
together to make an image. That's kind of what I do, but only digitally, where I'm taking my images that I'm painting and I'm splicing them all together to create
Yeah, that's
a
a
more
really good way to
complex
put it. That was perfect
composition.
way to describe
Yeah.
it. And something that's from like elementary time, so we're all going to understand it. Eric
Right.
Smith has a question. Says, "Where does Joe draw his inspiration from?" See what I did there? I'm not sure
um,
what you did.
I mean, Star Wars is my passion, and that's why I became an artist as a kid. I saw the movie. I was barely 4 years old. It was right before my fourth birthday, when it came out in May of '77. So my birthday was a few months later. But Star Wars inspired my imagination. I mean, I was just at that perfect age at the right time in pop culture history for Star Wars to hit because we had seen nothing. I mean, granted, I was still really young, but as I grew up with Star Wars, there was nothing like it. Nothing. Like, it's hard for people to wrap their head around that because now we have Marvel and DC and Transformers and special effects
All of
epics
that happened all at once, and so much. It's so mainstream
yeah.
now. So,
But Star Wars back then was so revolutionary. It just came out of nowhere, and it just captivated the entire world's imagination. And there was nothing like it visually or even storytelling wise. So on top of that, I grew up with the toys, and then on top of that, the action figures were brand new from Kenner, and that was revolutionary in itself. But I also, my introduction to comic books was through Star Wars because I had the Marvel Comics adaptation. So we couldn't relive Star Wars back in the late 70s or early 80s until VCRs came out, a few years after that. But to
Mhm.
relive Star Wars, I would play with the toys and recreate the scenes, or
That's
I would
so
read the
fun.
Marvel
Oh,
comics, and that's
it
how a lot of
that's
us
so
relived
cool. I would have been like, I unfortunately was not born yet when they came out,
it.
and I would have loved to have been something that I could have experienced when it first came out and getting captivated like that.
It's really a one of a kind of thing. I mean, the only other thing that kind of comes close is when the episode 1 came out and Star Wars 20 years later was reintroduced, and then that kind of blew up all over again. I mean, the special editions were really great for nostalgia, but I mean, to answer Eric's question, it was really like, I mean, my inspiration comes from first and foremost Star Wars, but Star Wars was the gateway that opened my very young imagination to like comic books and action figures. And then a lot of my artistic influence comes from comic books and comic book artists, but also artists who were involved with Star Wars, like Drew Struzan and Ralph McQuarrie, and some of the Star Wars comic book artists that I grew up loving. So from there, I mean, even today, like, comic books, movies, other artwork. Yeah, that all inspires me, but it all kind of goes back to Star Wars.
I was looking at when I was looking at some of your pictures, the realism of them, and now that I'm trying to draw again for the first time, I'm like, okay, how would you, if someone wants to get into realism, what is a good starting off point for an artist?
I mean, I always practiced from figure drawing, from real life figure
Okay.
drawing, and I took classes in art college. I took like almost 5 years worth of figure drawing courses,
Wow.
but that was also because I wanted to do comic books, and to draw comic books, you have to know how to draw people in like every
Yes.
angle possible, right? And the most complex thing anyone can learn to draw is like the most complex machine is the human body, right? So if you can master drawing a person, the anatomy, if you get really good at anatomy, then that kind of opens up the door to being able to draw
Yeah,
other
that makes
things,
sense. Because buildings are like, a lot of straight lines and stuff like that
Right.
and everything, but people changing so much, and
Yeah.
water could be also, I'm guessing, kind of tough too sometimes. We have another question from Eric who says, what could we be looking forward to from Joe in the near future? I
Um,
actually had a question about that. It was
mhm.
to tell us a bit about Ultra Galactic and Death Avenger.
Oh my gosh, you did your research. Yeah, yeah. You just named two comic book projects I really want to get off the ground and self-publish at some point. I'm always writing in my notebooks and in my notes on my phone, like new ideas and scenes and characters for these stories. And I, at one point early on in my career, I did publish Death Avenger as an independent self-published comic book many years ago, but it was always my goal to get back to that. Um, and I will at some point, because I as much as I love doing Star Wars and it is my passion and I could do Star Wars forever, I'm never actually going to retire off of doing someone else's property, right? So if I have my own thing that I can fall back on and create, that's kind of the game plan in the bigger picture. But we'll see if I ever get those projects out. But in the near future, I mean, right now, right in front of me, I've always got new Star Wars projects in front of me. It's just
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of like it kind of just keeps giving in that sense.
right, and and
But I
and
think
I
it's
love it.
beautiful to have something of your own too.
Yeah, yeah. I'm I am working on. Hopefully, these will come out, and it's way too early to say too much. But Revenge of the Sith, its 20th anniversary is this summer, this May. So I am working on some new posters for that, and we'll see if they end up coming out.
Exciting.
Hopefully, they do. It's too early to say yet. I have to get things approved, and then I do have right in front of me, waiting on me right now, are is it's I can't talk too much about it, but it is a new Star Wars project for Tops. Tops does the trading cards for Star Wars, and I've worked with Tops off and on since the early 2000s. They do like series like the Star Wars Galaxy trading card series, which will feature artists doing their renditions of the Star Wars universe. So I have a project with Tops for Star Wars. If I get it done, that'll come out here later this year. So
Oh, well, we'll look for it so we can make sure we share it on our
yeah.
page for people to see. We have a comment that was very sweet. Joe does some of the best photorealistic Star Wars artwork I've seen on the con circuit. From G Crickon. I'm
Oh,
not sure how to say it
that's
correctly.
Jeff Cricken. I know who that is.
Oh,
Thanks,
okay.
Jeff. Yeah,
Yeah.
Jeff with a G. His nickname is Crash.
Hi,
That's
Crash.
Crash. Yeah, Crash. Jeff Crash Cricket.
The way he spoke, I was like, this is going to be someone that Joe knows.
Yeah. No, we go way back. He was in the Rebel Legion years ago, and I just saw him at MegaCon. I was just at MegaCon last week, so I see a lot of fans at the convention.
Yo, Joe.
Yeah, there he is. Yeah, hey, Crash.
Yeah. All right. So the next thing I actually wanted to ask is, what do you feel like has been the most rewarding project that you've worked on so far? Maybe I know Star Wars is such a huge thing, but was there a specific piece that really kind of that got you
Oh
excited to
wow.
do?
Most rewarding. That's interesting. I mean, there are certain pieces that resonate
Hmm.
with fans, which at the time I did them, I had no idea they would resonate. But looking back, I'm like, oh, that one is a piece that people still respond very positively to. Um, I mean, there's some pieces that were very that resonate with me more because I'm really excited because they're usually the newest thing I've done. So it's like I take everything I've learned as an illustrator from that I've learned up into the last thing I did, and then I apply it forward to the next thing. So whatever that next thing is, usually includes some new things I may have learned. You know, 'cause, especially digitally, I'm always exploring and learning. So it's usually whatever the newest thing I did is what I'm most proud of. But um, well, you know, for example, like the Bo-Katan poster you just showed, and then there was a Shin
Hmm.
Hati poster that I did for Lucasfilm that came out last summer. But there are certain pieces like the Great Remorse of Darth Vader, which is Darth Vader sitting in his meditation chamber, uh, feeling remorseful about the death of Padme, and that piece is kind of haunting, and
Hmm.
it's all white. It's very high contrast with the interior of the chamber white, and Vader's all black, and there's a ghostly visage of Padme floating above him. And at the time I did that, I had no idea that it was going to resonate. You know, almost 30 years later, 20 actually
Yeah,
20
yeah, it's
some years later.
amazing.
Yeah, thank you.
The things that you don't even realize will resonate like that. So
Yeah, so that one probably
that's
is.
pretty cool. That's
It'll
really,
probably be
really
on my
neat.
tombstone as a Star Wars artist someday. The
That is
one thing
really
that
cool.
people
Like
remember me.
there have been some amazing headstones that I've seen, and people be able to get like a really cool image engraved, like etched
Oh, if they could
into
carve that on my
headstones.
headstone,
Yeah, they
that
can
would be
carve it.
really
Like, yeah,
cool.
it'd be basically like a black and white with a contrast, and then one color or the other tells it where to engrave. I don't know why I know
Oh,
that.
yeah.
Um,
Now I see a plan for me.
there you go. So here, what's a common misconception that people might have about illustrators and illustration in
Oh my
general?
god, that we're all somehow rich and it's a glamorous lifestyle.
Yeah.
No, no, no,
Nope.
no. No, especially when you're self-employed. I mean, I do this full time. So if I'm not doing freelance for a client, I'm usually at a convention hustling, selling art.
And you got to work for it.
Yeah, yeah, and it's kind of been my life for the last 20 years, which is one of the reasons why I haven't gotten my own self-published stuff out there, because I just haven't been in a position, really where financially I can just be like, oh, I'm going to work on my own thing for the next 6 months and not worry about bills.
Hmm.
So I'm always illustrating, I'm always working for a client, or I mean, usually Lucasfilm or Disney or one of their licensors, or I'm at a convention. I do anywhere from on an average around 15 shows a year, which kind of equates about one convention a month, basically, maybe
Yeah,
two,
that's pretty
depending.
close.
So I'm always on the go. I'm always busy.
Yeah, T. Carter said Joe is the absolute best, and P. Kiana Risden said always driving.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Always driving. Yes. I know both of those people. Yes, they're familiar with my career. So yeah, that Catherine's my girlfriend.
Okay. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, hello.
She's
Eric
jumped in
Smith
here.
here. If those who don't know who are watching, he is the Kyber. He's the convention manager for Kyber Cave. You could actually say that I've been on a ride on a transport with Joe. The transport
That's
didn't
right.
exactly go as planned. Crazy droid driver.
Yes, yes, that's right. That was, God, was that 2017? I think, in Star Wars Celebration in Orlando. And actually, because I was going to do this podcast, I just thought of Eric because I was just on Star Tours earlier this week, because I was
Oh, that's
after
cool.
after MegaCon in Orlando. I went to Disney World. I went to Galaxy's Edge because I go every year whenever I can, and I jumped on Star Tours, and I was like, oh yeah, Eric was. We ended up on the same Star Tours, the same tour. Yeah, when we were, I think it was Star Wars Celebration, probably 2017 or somewhere, maybe 2019. I
Okay.
think this was it.
I actually went to Galaxy's Edge for the first time last November and did like a report for it for the channel too.
Oh, nice.
And Rise of the Resistance took over as my favorite ride for the first time in like over 20 years.
It's awesome.
We went on it 5 times because it was so good. We got to be there a
that's
whole
awesome.
week. So
I
yeah,
rode
we
it.
had
I rode it
it was
twice in one day.
yeah, we went
Disney
5
trip.
times in the 5 days that we had at Disney. And I think 2 or 3 times in one day, and it was so much
It's
fun.
so
And
good.
literally going through Galaxy's Edge, you feel like you're in the Star Wars universe, which was just pretty epic. That immersion is so good, and the ride, that's what I loved about it the most, was the immersion of it and the technology of it.
Yeah,
Because some of the technology making you feel like you're like that Kylo Ren's actually walking down the hallway to you.
Yeah, the story's
and
good too. I
stuff
love
like
the
that.
story.
Yeah, the story's great. Yeah.
Yeah, so
It
it's
feels
really
like
well thought out.
It's so good. It's so well thought out. Yeah, it's a good way to put it. And even like a part where you're in like a transport before you get pulled onto the into like a battle cruiser kind of ship. It just feels like it's part of a line, but also it's just like it makes you feel like you're in the ride already.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah,
So
even the cues are part of the experience, which is cool.
yeah, exactly. And the cast members coming in, like smug is gonna be
Yeah,
like
they're
a
all
like a
snooty
dark
and
side.
yeah.
So it's so good because they're cast members.
Mhm.
Now, have you ever had to deal with something like burnout, and how did you manage it if you have?
Oh my gosh. I mean, I guess I do get burnout sometimes, but I mean, I usually never. I don't know. Like, if I feel it, it doesn't last for very long, because I know in order to keep this wheel moving, I can't slow down.
Yeah, that's true. You can't just let it go.
Yeah. So I definitely take breaks when I feel like, okay, like I've been cooped up in the studio too long, or I've been doing too many conventions in a row. I need to like decompress. So I do have that, but the thing is, I never get. I mean, I guess you could. Burnout is a thing, but it doesn't last very long, and I never get bored because I always have so much to do. Like, there's
Mhm.
always stuff I want to do. If there's a project I'm working on, say it's a Star Wars poster, I'm thinking about 3 other Star Wars posters I still want to do. Or if I'm doing like something else, I'm thinking, okay, I got to get this done so I can jump to the next thing. But I'm excited about it. I'm never. So I guess when
That's
people
great.
say,
You're never like stressed about it, like dreading it in a sense.
well,
And
no, I mean, there's stress involved with deadlines sometimes,
Mm,
but it's
mhm.
not so much that, like, yeah, it doesn't inhibit me or anything. Like, I mean,
That's
yes,
great. And then, like you said, decompression's a good way to balance that to keep the any kind of burnout from
yeah,
really taking over.
yeah.
Um,
I feel pretty lucky with what I do, so I never let the heaviness of the stress weigh me down. So,
yeah. So if all with all of the stuff that you've worked on, what is one franchise, book, or film, the thing that you haven't worked on before that you like to work on?
oh, I mean, there's so many movies that I love because I'm a big movie person.
That's
And
true.
there's artwork, for movies I would love to like, whether it's like posters or books or comics. I mean, I'm a big Marvel person. I Star Wars sort of takes over my life, and that's fine because I love it. But I would love to do more Marvel art if I ever got the chance. Batman is my favorite comic book character. I've gotten to play with him a little bit with DC stuff in the past, but not really like I've never drawn a Batman comic or I haven't done any
hmm
Batman covers, and I would love to do that kind of stuff. Just because I have such reverence for that character. Uh, but in some ways, like some of my favorite things, like X Files. I love X Files. It's like one of my favorite
I'm
TV
in season
shows.
5 right now.
Oh, nice, nice. I've gotten to work on the comic books for X Files, so that was like, oh,
That's so cool.
yeah, yeah. So sometimes things do work out, or like Farscape. I was a huge Farscape fan,
hmm
and back when it was on the Sci-Fi Channel back in the day, and then years later, I get to work on the comic book with the creators of the TV show. So I worked on that comic book for 3 years, and that was really exciting. So there are things that I'm a big fan of that eventually fall in my lap, like even Star Trek, which I enjoy Star Trek, and I've gotten to work on that a lot over the years. So, but yeah, I would say Marvel, Batman, certain other maybe films I really love. I'd love to do something with.
Yeah, we had a really cool kind of comment from Kevin that feels like it ties in because he said, "Indeed, the later Batman movies, for example, have an appeal because they're more grounded in reality. Like the first ones with Tim Burton were very comic booky in a
Hmm.
sense and fun, very not realistic. But the most recent ones definitely are,
Oh yeah,
and that could be cool because you have a realism style.
right.
So that'd be cool.
Yeah, love the Christopher Nolan Batman films,
Yeah,
but I
they're really
love
good.
I love the Matt Reeves Batman Robert Pattinson movie too. I
It
really,
was really I was so much better than I expected. I
yeah, it
actually
was,
enjoyed it a lot more. Spice
yeah.
Runner here says, "I'd love to see Joe's take on a Heath Ledger Joker."
Yeah, me too. I haven't painted him yet. I've done Jack Nicholson Joker, and I've done Michael Keaton Batman, but I just haven't. Eventually, I don't know. Like as much as I love Star Wars, if I do find time in between Star Wars projects, like I do have artwork coming out for The Crow, which I'm a huge fan of
Ooh,
the
love
Brandon
The
Lee
Crow.
movie. So I'll have
Yes.
artwork for that coming out later this year, and probably something for, well, it's already done. It should end up in the book. As far as I know, it will. Something for Jaws for the 50th anniversary for Jaws. So, I do get to work on movies and other things that I'm passionate about, but it's hard to find time to squeeze them in.
All right, here's a nerdy. This is not one I had written down, but this is a very nerdy artist to artist question.
Okay.
So, for those who don't know, this is one of the digital pens, right, that you would use on a tablet. For example, we each have one. And when you are traditional art, right, and you want to use different types of pens or a brush or something like that, you have to switch out what you have. But you can download brushes like to use. So when you draw something, it looks like you're drawing with that brush that you draw in real life with.
Mhm.
Do you create your own preset brushes and stuff like that, or do you download? That's just a nerd artist question.
I download a lot of
Mhm.
them. I mean, I
Me
don't.
too.
Yeah, I don't. Let me think. I mean, I may have created a few here and there, but really, I have so many that I've downloaded that I'm able to just more or less grab the one or one that's close to it. And that's the other. I mean, again, I'm always experimenting with brushes too and trying different brushes. So yeah, I don't know. I
That was
have,
me, like, when I made those drawings I showed you earlier
yeah,
for the first time using the tablet, and downloaded brushes for the first time in a couple of years, trying to see what can do what, and playing with it.
yeah.
Eric had an interesting comment here. I'd love to see Joe do an NIN Star Wars crossover.
NIN is
You
Nine
wait,
Inch
what
Nails.
is Okay, I thought it
Eric's
was
a
Nine
big
Inch
Nine Inch
Nails.
Nails
I
fan
knew it was
too,
9 Inch
yeah.
Nails, but I thought maybe I was imagining things because I know that's 9 Inch Nails.
Yeah, we're
I
both
was
very
like,
passionate about Nine Inch Nails and Star Wars. So
that's Trent Reznor's band, right?
yeah.
Okay.
So it's my
Yeah.
favorite musician and my favorite.
I grew up with my friend and I both were into like kind of like rock and metal music and stuff like that in junior high. Although I was a closeted NSYNC fan for a while too. But I'm kind of my music taste is eclectic though. I kind of like a bunch of everything. So another question I have is, what was your first digital tablet, and which one has been your favorite, even if it's not one you currently have?
Well, my first one was, I think you talked about having one of those Wacom that sit on your lap that you draw on your lap
Yes,
and you look up
mine
at
was
your.
an Intuos.
Yeah, I had an Intuos as well. I had
Okay,
an Intuos. I think. I mean, well, isn't does Wacom or Wacom are they affiliated with Intuos, or I guess they're different? I can't
which
remember if
one?
they're Wacom and Intuos. Are those two separate? I
Yeah,
don't know.
the Intuos is the model of Wacom.
Right, exactly. So I
Yes,
had an Intuos was my first one, and it was probably like a nine. I don't, it was big. I mean, it was, and then I had a small
decent
one.
size. Yeah.
Yeah, I had the big one first, and then I went down to the smaller one. But then, like, yeah, I started using my Cintiq in 2015 or so, I think. So about 10 years now. So that's what I prefer to use. That's what I
Yeah.
yeah.
I started with, for those who don't know what a Wacom Intuos is, it's a digital tablet, but you can't see yourself drawing on it. You have to look at the computer and you're like drawing on the
Right.
desk. So it's kind of like a learning curve at first using it that way. And I just recently got my own one that you see, it's like a monitor that you see what you're drawing.
Right.
Um,
It's like if you have an iPad and you're drawing right on the
yes,
iPad.
and it's
Like
but specifically made like
right.
for the digital art, and I'm really enjoying it so far. It's got a great response time and stuff, but that's all nerd stuff that they don't
Yeah. No,
necessarily need
Cintiq
to
is the
know.
way to go.
um
I love
yeah,
being able to see my hand and
mine's
draw.
at a 15 like 0.4-inch screen, which is so much bigger than like what the Wacom was, and I'm
Mhm.
like, this is so cool. And I actually had never drawn with Photoshop before. I had always used Adobe Illustrator.
Oh, okay.
So this is my first time using Photoshop. And it's partly because it had been so long since I used Illustrator, and I've used Photoshop so much more in the last 2 years. And I thought, well, I know it so much better. I feel like Illustrator I'd only used for vector images
Right. That's a
in the
vector
end.
art program. That's like
Yeah.
more hard cut shapes, graphic design, whereas
Yes.
Photoshop is pixel oriented and it's more intuitive with
Exactly.
sketching and drawing.
For those who don't know, like the nice thing about vector, especially for those of you who use emojis and stuff, a vector can be blown up or blown as little aspect ratio as you want, and it won't lose the quality of it.
Right.
But they can be a little bit not necessarily meant for free creative art, rather than, like you said, the hard lines and stuff like that. So if you weren't an illustrator, what do you think you'd be doing?
You mean the Illustrator program?
No. If you weren't
Oh,
an illustrator
if I
yourself, if you
weren't
weren't
an
an
illustrator.
artist,
Oh, okay.
yeah, if you were not, what would you be
Oh
doing?
my gosh. That's easy to answer, right? Because in art college I started my sophomore year. I started pursuing film and video courses, and
Oh, okay.
my junior year I was directing, editing, making my own music videos and documentaries, and yeah. So I was going to pursue a career as a filmmaker, and I was going to use
Okay.
my art, my training in illustration to basically get into an art department, say like ILM or
What as something like that.
yeah, something at the time the studios that I was talking to. I
Mhm.
was actually going to move out to California, work in film, work in an art department, and then use my work my way up into uh, doing actual directing and filming, because I had a video and a film portfolio as well. But that didn't happen because life put me on a different path. I had my daughter when I was 25. So I
Okay.
ended up not pursuing that, and I ended up being a dad. And basically, I was already doing illustration for a career at that point. So I just kind of stuck with that and pursued that more thoroughly. But had things been different, I probably would end up I'd be out. I would have been in California working for a film studio that I had a job lined up with. So,
I
but
had like so many things that you have growing up that you wanted to do.
mhm.
Like for me, I wanted to do stunts I did martial arts when I was younger. But life just didn't take me that way. And so I changed course and decided I wanted to be an opera singer. Now I do sing opera,
Oh wow.
just not for a living.
Okay.
That's where mezzo comes from, mezzo soprano.
Right.
But I had my oldest at 24 years old, and that kind of turned life around, and I
Mhm.
became just mom.
Right.
But I'm now a video editor. I do some graphics design, but mostly I do a lot of video editing and some photography. And I've even shot some stuff before, but most of it's just editing. And I found I really enjoy it. And I wonder where'd that come from? And
Mhm.
growing up, when my dad got a camcorder for the first time, I would do pretend magic tricks where like we got a tripod and so the camera can't move, and then oh, look, the clothes are gone or something like that. And then my sister and I would write fake news reports, and we would pretend to be news reporters.
Oh wow. Okay.
Back to you, Karen. Stuff like that in the air.
I
So
loved
Aubrey,
editing
you're
too.
sweet.
Like when I was doing filming and making my own documentaries and music videos and little mini movies, I fell in love not just with the directing aspect of it, but the editing as well, because I loved editing the music and the
Mhm.
timing, like timing scenes and certain edits to music. That was so cool and so fun. And then playing these videos and these movies for my friends and having like parties or and showing our films and seeing the the reaction, getting the crowd reaction was so exciting. So yeah, that was that was a path I would have gone on. But to me, it all goes back to storytelling and getting to work as an
Mhm.
illustrator. I don't see myself just as an artist do painting like pretty pictures of Star Wars characters. I like to infuse whenever and as often as I can storytelling in my artwork. So when you look at even if it's just a poster, I want to be able to move your eye and tell a story within that poster. Because for me as an artist, it's not just painting and drawing I'm passionate about, but it's storytelling and creating a mood or trying to, even if it's a little small story within the illustration I'm trying to convey. But that all goes back to cinema and movies and comic books. So I'm passionate about storytelling.
That's great. And the comics that you're working on that you're wanting to be able to publish is like the almost like an ultimate form of your storytelling or
Right.
something that you're writing and creating at once.
Yeah,
Thank you so much for coming on our show
you're
tonight. I
welcome.
really enjoyed being able to chat and even asking some nerdy artist questions that not everyone
Sure.
quite understands, but us. If you guys want to check out Joe Corroney, I'm actually going to post his website in the chat, but it's also already in the description. So if you're watching the upload, you can check it out there. Really, really good information on there. That's where I did my homework.
Yeah.
Was checking out your website and stuff. I
Yeah.
was like, I want to know about this, So if you guys want to check him out, is some really, really good stuff on there. You can see a ton of his work. So thank you so much for coming on. Have a good evening, and thank you.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it. Thanks for having me on, and may the force be with you.
And may the force be with you. Have a good night.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, what an interesting and amazing interview, by the way.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun. I don't get to do the interview stuff very often, but I have a really good time when I do it. It feels like I just get to practice a little bit of things I don't get to do very often. And
Yeah.
being at cons more, I'll be doing them more every now and then. So I'm getting
It
my
was so fun because he's like us. He's an artist, and it
yes.
was fun hearing him doing all those things. I'm like, oh, I'm doing. It
Yeah,
was very. I
Miss
felt like it
Aubrey
was
here
very much
is
reminiscent.
absolutely
Yes.
amazing as an actress. She's learning how to video edit too, and she is a musician. You guys know we're working on our New Order show that Aubrey and her friend Melody created the game, and she's got music going on for it, and I'm doing some of the video editing for it, and we're kind of working as a team together to get all that kind of
Well, actually, I was
put
listening to an
together
interview.
for you.
I was doing more of the New Order
Doing
stuff.
more of the
So,
work for it.
yeah, so
I've
it
done
was
that
really
kind of thing
funny.
before too.
So Joe talking about stuff, I'm like, oh, that is so much fun. I've done that. By the way, Joe, live long and prosper. Yes, I
Live long
know.
and
How
prosper.
dare.
He
How
just said,
dare.
thanks for checking out the show, everyone, and thanks for the questions. I
Yeah.
had fun. May the force be with you. So thank you
Yes,
so
and may the
much, Joe,
force
for
be
coming
with
on.
you as
Yes,
well.
that was a lot of
But
fun.
he talked about Star Trek a lot, and Star Trek is my first love. So
Star
it's
Trek is
one of my
lovely.
loves, one of my first loves, and Batman and all the
I
things.
was
And I'm like, yes,
obsessed
he's
with
amazing.
Patrick
You are
Stewart
amazing.
growing up, watching some of the movies that he had, and I was just like, I thought he was so cool, but I was in love with Data.
Oh yeah, so was I. I mean, we're
So
all
in
of
love
us
with
in
him.
love with Data a little bit. I mean,
Yes.
Spider is.
Brett, come on. Oh my goodness.
And if you're ever on here, you're never gonna see this.
You just gave me the
my
chills
idol.
just at the fact of he would appear on this show. Just having the idea of it.
We'll manifest that. But yeah,
speaking of appearances coming up, I'm not going to play the whole video, but I just want to tell you all, guys, on March 2nd, Adasa, who played Dolores from Encanto, is going to be on the show. So we're very, very excited for that. Yes, the one from the movie, not like an offshoot or something like that, which would have been fine too. But I'm very excited to have her from the movie. Van connected with her at a convention, and she's able to do the show. So I'm very, very excited for that. And also, don't forget to
say also your opera singing is amazing. I've gotten I've gotten to hear it. I think it's amazing. Yeah,
I appreciate it. It was like the first or second show I even had on the channel that Van had me sing SpongeBob SquarePants theme song in opera. And it was just silly opera. It was
in your opera.
I was doing requests on my Twitch channel.
The bello canto.
And somebody decided they wanted to request that, and I'm just sitting here trying to sing it like not necessarily operatic, but just kind of normal. I was like, and I couldn't really like find the note I wanted, and I just flipped to opera, and then I like hit the high note at the end, and it wasn't like physically it came out fine, but I wasn't mentally prepared in the sense, and all of a sudden I got lightheaded. And if you ever see the clip of it, which is on my YouTube channel, I bet it's hilarious. And that's because I'm really lightheaded. Because it wasn't
I've hit those high notes.
Can go a little high.
Yes,
like mezzo
I'm actually
full
soprano. She's a mezzo. I get it, but mezzo sopranos, those high notes are hard to reach for them. Whereas sopranos, we like living in the stratosphere the whole time.
Yes. So, and for those who are interested, like the part you sing, like your range isn't necessarily the singing part, right? Like I'm a mezzo soprano because even though I can hit a high D on a good day, my richest notes that are like the nicest and best are in the middle. So that's like why I'm a mezzo soprano, but and I can hit kind of low too, but I've sung tenor for my choir when they've needed it sometime.
Yeah.
Hit that chest voice, just kind of build it up a little bit and do it healthily. All right. So moving on.
Anyways,
Aubrey has seen these, but it's time for Guess That Character, guys.
I'm excited for these.
Yeah, I like these. These are kind of fun. I'm a little surprised. By the way, slightly different than our usual when it comes to revealing the character, and I'll explain what that is in a moment. Who is this, y'all? Who is this? Van saw these earlier today too, because since he's not here to play tonight, I made him play in Messenger.
Go and put it down in the comments. I already know.
Put it in the comments.
Put it down in the comments.
Yes, put it down in the comments.
Sorry, I didn't mean to spoilers. I guess I gave spoilers a little bit.
It's all right. No, but Van saw this. I had him play earlier. I sent him this picture, the whole thing, in Facebook Messenger this morning. I was like, all right, who is it? Make you play since you're not going to be here. Who is it? All right, can all of you put in the chat who you think it might be?
Who is it in my head now?
So Say Wong says Unmasked Vader. Kevin Hogan says, do we get a hint what series it's in? It is in the prequels. This person is in the prequels.
That away now.
There's your hint.
I'm joking.
Yeah, it might give it away, so who knows?
Might give it away. Give it away.
That's okay. That's okay.
Yeah, it's totally fine.
Say Wong says Darth Malik. and then goes, wait. He's gonna suggest something.
Saewon, I appreciate
Saewon. We appreciate Saewon very much, and he amuses us constantly.
Yes, constantly.
Especially when the first line is, "Will we be on time?" Count Dooku is his.
Okay,
guess.
all right, fair.
I can see why you think that. All right, this silhouette is actually Padme Queen Amidala. She's more dressed as Padme, but the twist, as you see, is it is a drawing, and it's something I drew.
Yes, that's why I said
with my new tablet. So
it's
spoiled. It's okay. I drew this the other day, and I thought I would draw them. But yeah, so this is how to get me some practice with my new tablet and trying out new brushes and stuff. And so this is Padme. So this is Natalie Portman's character.
Amazing.
And as we all know where she came from, we don't have to. I don't think it's not the kind of character I usually have to give any kind of I don't know, bio about, like I do some of the others. All right,
we all know who she is. We know her.
Yeah, we all know who Padme is. All right, who is this? I liked what I did with the saber too, having it like all rough. Ooh, I said saber.
Oh, you just gave it away.
I mean, I think it's kind of obvious, but
Saewon's just gonna be like, I'm just gonna go count Dooku, double down.
That would be good. Actually, it was really interesting. Dude from Skeleton Crew Night Vision says, and actually, this is the one that Van got correctly when he played. And Django Fett, Kevin says.
I like it.
Anyone else have a guess? Oh, Raph says Obi-Wan. I'm going to call him Wan now. Obi-Wan.
Love it.
See his name was
the blind guy.
Well, you know what, Saewon? You are correct.
Yes.
He's a blind human male. I love Jet Li.
So
he was a human male
in that whole movie.
Yeah.
Terrible.
Yeah, blind guy from Rogue One. You are correct. He was a human male born on the moon. Did a N53 BBY. He used an Unetti wood staff and handmade light bow, in addition to being a master Zamashiwo martial artist, one of the guardians of the Willis and an order of spiritual warrior monks. His valiant sacrifice, along with the rest of the Rogue One, sorry, spoilers if you didn't see it, your own fault, ensured the success of the mission of the eventual destruction of the Death Star. I thought he was a really cool character, and so I wanted to give him a little bit of a draw, and I was like looking for characters, and I thought, I think I want to try that one. And then I just kind of, it's not super detailed, but it's enough that you know exactly who it is and stuff.
I really like your art style. It's
thank
really
you.
Good.
It's kind of, it's a little comic booky. It's a little bit.
That's fine.
And it was fine. Me. No, it doesn't bother me. But I actually watched. It had been a long time since I drew a person or drew anything. And I actually watched a tutorial on someone who had the reference photo of what they were drawing. It was just a sketch, right? On shadows and stuff like that, and not being afraid of multiple layers of shadows. Like you see his neck has 2 sets of shadows.
Yes, I saw that.
One darker than the other, and not being afraid of contrast, because you feel like, oh no, it'll be too dark for the contrast to really work. But I really liked how it ended up turning out. So
I'm learning about a lot of that. So yeah, I think you did such a great job.
Thank you. And for those who are interested, his character is actually where we got the term Hearts of Kyber from when we did the Hearts of Kyber show. He talks about Hearts of Kyber. So thank you so much. That was like a really cool little tidbit that not everybody realizes and stuff. So anyways,
I like to discuss this character segment. I think I like it better than the town or
Talk of the Town is still how the show ends.
I mean, Talk of the Town is still great. I'm just saying.
It's still fine. We started with Guess That Saber. So it was silhouettes of sabers, but I was starting to kind of run out of the ones I like, I had started to run out of finding a bunch of different ones and so I thought characters are a little bit easier for me to remember what I've done for and stuff. So I switched to Guess That Character. Just like, guess that Pokemon, but guess that character. So then this last week was when I decided to go ahead and draw them instead, just to kind of get some me practice in my into my new tablet and everything, which is absolutely
fantastic.
So
many Pokemon out there, though. To be fair, I like Sabers.
Yes.
There's so many
characters. And Pokemon
I've been playing a lot of Pokemon games lately, and there's so many. Like
there really are. All right, guys. Well, thank you so much for joining us tonight. Thank you, James Kaiser, for the flow. Thank you, Aubrey, for coming on and hanging out with me, even though you're under the weather. And thank you, Mr. Joe Corroney, for coming on our show and sharing us so much of your work and wisdom, and how you got into the illustrating and stuff, and how Star Wars is a passion of yours. So thank you so much. You guys have a wonderful night and enjoy the Talk of the Town. Bye.